All right. So good day, everyone. Welcome back to our Database Cloud Services Tech Talk. I'm your host, Leo Alvarado, and today we have an exciting episode lineup for you. So we will be talking about maintenance best practices for your Exadata database service. And I'm very thrilled to introduce our special guest. So, Mr. Prince Matthew, so a key member of our product management team behind the Exadata Database Service, who has worked on some of the most innovative and coolest features of Exadata Database Service. So, hi, Mr. Prince. So, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Tech Talk.
Thank you, Leo. Happy to be here.
Yes,
Excited to be part of this.
yeah. Thank you for joining. So. Prince and I have prepared a jam-packed topics for today. So we will be going through uh, lots of this learning points. So we'll start by taking you through the Exadata infrastructure software updates, and then we'll do a quick review to understand the maintenance and updates responsibility matrix. And then Mr. Prince will be taking us through the infrastructure maintenance enhancements, like telling you and showing you how to use the controls available for Oracle managed updates, how you can use automation for customer managed updates, and how you can mitigate the impact on databases during maintenance with your Exadata database service on public cloud and cloud at customer. And towards the end of the presentation, covering on how do you uh, use notification and events for your maintenance, for your infrastructure maintenance. Okay, so since we'll be talking about Exadata database service, so first is, did you know that Exadata Database Service provides a choice of multiple deployment models to suit your business and workload requirements? So that's one of the greatest differentiators of Exadata compared with other data platforms, that it provides you with the flexibility in terms of where to deploy. So you can Exadata runs everywhere. You can run it on premises with a traditional CAPEX deployment model where you own and manage the complete system and have a total flexibility as how you want to manage it. Or you can also run it in the cloud where Oracle manages the infrastructure and you have the automation to simplify your management tasks, and that you can leverage on a pay for use subscription model that can that can dramatically reduce your cost. And that Oracle also offers Exadata in a public cloud with Exadata Cloud infrastructure. But running your database in the cloud does not mean that you need to put your data outside of your data center. So with Exadata Cloud Customer, you can benefit from a cloud deployment, but keep all your data safely inside your own data center. And that Exadata is also available with multi-cloud deployments where you can choose to run your database on Exadata Cloud infrastructure and application on other cloud platform. Slide. And it's very simple to utilize the OCI web console to manage your Oracle database cloud services. Like you can use the navigation menu at the upper left corner to navigate to the database service pages where you can create, manage, and view your cloud database resources. For example, the Exadata database service can be managed from the web console by selecting Oracle database. And in the navigation menu, you can select either Oracle Exadata database service on dedicated infrastructure, which is in the public cloud, Exadata database service on Cloud at Customer, or Oracle Exadata database service on exascale infrastructure. Now let's dig a little bit more into the management responsibility matrix. So let's just do a quick review. So for Exadata Database Service, it just follows a simple cloud management model. So Oracle owns and manages the infrastructure. So this include the database servers, storage servers, and the internal network fabric. And you can schedule the maintenance window for Oracle to perform the infrastructure maintenance that aligns best with your business needs, which later on Prince will be taking us through on those maintenance infrastructure enhancement. And then when you subscribe to the Exadata database service, you are responsible for managing everything that runs on your VM cluster. So the VM cluster, it includes the virtual machine OS, the grid infrastructure software, and the database home layer, which includes the database software, customer data, and encryption keys. So the VM cluster, it runs all the supported Oracle database versions. You can also install and manage additional software on your VM cluster, and that you are in control on who can access that customer VM. So the Exadata Database Service also provides you with a powerful set of cloud automation tools that gives you complete control over the components that you need to manage. And then the efficiency of the cloud automation functions and APIs frees your database admins from the burden of traditional database management tasks. So now I'll be handing over to Prince to walk us through the recommended quarterly maintenance flow.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Leo, for the. So we'll jump right into the Oracle responsibility piece, and then we'll work up the layers on what are the different aspects or newly introduced features on the other layers as well. For
Yes.
the Exadata infrastructure itself, we have the quarterly maintenance. We also have a monthly maintenance cadence, which we'll talk about. But just to kind of draw your attention to what is expected and what our customers are doing by and large. So the first step is providing your scheduling maintenance preferences based on the kind of environment you are managing, be it a dev or a UAT or a prod infrastructure, and in the schedule which aligns with that environment. The next would be to define your maintenance contacts, which are either local to an environment or maybe shared, but that's the next step. And then you can subscribe to events which are specifically emitted for infrastructure maintenance related activity. This is through the OCI's events framework, which you can subscribe for any cloud managed resource, which includes your Exadata infrastructure. And then based on your subscription for the level of events and the kind of contacts, especially for maintenance which is performed on your infrastructure, which is dedicated to you, you get notified when Oracle is preparing for an update, which includes the update includes pre-checks which we run beforehand. So in the case of quarterly, we prepare the image which is certified for cloud a month prior to a few weeks prior to the start of the quarter. So your cycle starting in February, March, April will have your certifications and pre-checks and validations done in the last 2 weeks of January, for example. As part of that, we will notify you of the state of the pre-checks, and if there are corrective actions to be done, Oracle operations will engage and do the needful. Once your automation is Oracle automation sets up the specific update for a given quarter. So in the example, like if the Q1 quarter, which Oracle Ops defines as February, March, April, you will get notified of when that is going to execute, and then you have some controls on how to manage it, including the option to pause Oracle automation is specifically for database server updates and interject, your own workflows. It could be some out-of-band checks you may want to do, or some monitoring software to see the state of the system before you roll through the updates from one database server to the other, things like that. So we have a bunch of controls on the orchestration side once the update is published. And then on an ongoing basis, we, through the mechanism of work request on specific resources and events which translate to specific checkpoints in your work request. So work request is your running log of what the Oracle automation is doing on your cloud managed resources, and specific checkpoints emit events which you have subscribed to. So you don't have to monitor it through the UI. You can do asynchronous monitoring or feed that into your favorite out of band monitoring tool, if you will, which collates all the information across all your cloud resources, including the infrastructure. And then finally, while you're doing all of this, all of your guest VM and the databases in your VM, the expectation is the customers are using and are familiar with MAA's best practices to achieve zero application downtime by leveraging uh, rack capabilities and such. So that's the blueprint of what Oracle recommends for setting up your infrastructure maintenance. Let's dive a little deeper to kind of understand what it entails, right? So when you say infrastructure maintenance, what are the bits which get updated in the frequency and such, right? So the DB servers, the host on which your database instances are running, the storage servers, which is where the Exadata shared storage is, and in the case of Exadata Cloud at customer deployments, the network switches which are deployed at your data center connecting to your upstream switch, right? So the software for all these layers, in the case of there's also the control plane server and things like that. All of that is bundled as part of the included Exadata software plus host OS and firmware update. So that's the payload for infrastructure maintenance. And within that, when we say you're applying updates, we specifically have control over DB server updates and the Exadata software which runs on the DB server, and same for the storage servers. And then the network switch software for XSCC, Cloud Customer, is also something which you can visually see as a distinct software component. The frequency, like we said, there's the quarterly one. The overall workflow we just looked at could also apply or extend to monthly maintenance, which is predominantly for security updates. So your quarterly maintenance is a full update for both DB servers and storage servers, and you have the choice of running it in a rolling fashion, or in case of a reduced time window. But if you're okay with a complete downtime, you can run it in a non-rolling fashion as well. Something to note is the although the quarterly maintenance window requires you to set up and execute a new software update, a full update on your infrastructure components every quarter. In We understand that there are certain scenarios where you may not be able to abide by those time windows. So the maximum time between two consecutive updates on any infrastructure component can be up to 180 days. This is to account for situations where you may have some unplanned event which in your business which requires you to push your maintenance out. So you could do that manually by rescheduling your maintenance from the planned quarterly cycle to a later date, but you cannot be more than 180 days from your prior update. For the monthly security maintenance, like we said, it's focused on security fixes. So all your CVSs are updated as part of your monthly. For this one, the database server update is performed online. So it does not require the reboot of the database server, the host, and it does not affect the application continuity or availability of your database instances. Uh, the cycle for security maintenance is tighter. So Oracle publishes a new image around the 19th or 20th of every month. So earlier in the month, when Exadata releases the new version, or the cloud team goes through a bunch of validations and certifies the version for use in cloud and publishes it and makes it available by 19th or 20th of the current month. And customers are automatically scheduled for a security maintenance from the 19th of the current month to 9th or 10th of the following month. So you will get the maintenance scheduled in on your infrastructure for one of these days, pointing to the right version for that month or that cycle. And you have the option to change your maintenance start time to a different date from what Oracle has scheduled for you. But the rescheduled window needs to be between that 21-day period to meet with OCI's security and compliance guidelines. So that's what is included in your maintenance infrastructure payload, or the frequency and what is updated. Now let's look at how you access these capabilities from the console. Leo, do you want to talk
Yeah,
about
so
that?
when I know some of you are familiar with this one, but if when you navigate to your Exadata Cloud infrastructure, so there's a button there with which shows you edit maintenance preference. So and that's where you can set and define your infrastructure maintenance preference, which Prince will also be taking us through. Maybe Prince, you can show them like what will happen when they click that edit maintenance preference.
Oh, sure thing. So editing your maintenance preference brings you to this configuration panel, right? So this presentation is very similar. Like this is also available during infrastructure provisioning, but I believe most customers, plan their maintenance after they set up the infra and done some testing. So once you click on that, you're presented with the option. The default option is Oracle Managed Schedule. So if you don't have any specific, business windows to align with, or you're okay with Oracle picking a date in their quarter to set up or configure your maintenance updates for your infra, then that would be the default, and you leave it at that. And the default setting also points to rolling, and that's that, right? That's your starting point. But we do understand that there are customers who prefer a custom schedule. And there are two options for defining your customers to capture your preferences or your custom schedule. So one is your preferences defined in line with the infrastructure itself. So when I say in line, this is localized to one infrastructure. So you can select the preferred quarters, the months in the quarter, the days, the start time slots, and things like that. So this is existing behavior. This has been available for a while, since we have since the beginning of the service. It's been in use. But what we want to talk about today is the second option, which is, instead of defining these schedules in line, infra by infra, we now have this use of maintenance windows which are derived from a scheduling policy. So the idea is that you have these preferences defined in a policy which can be reused across infrastructures, and you have better control over how you manage uh, your maintenance on across your infrastructure or a fleet of infrastructures. So this is more of like a reflection of how our customers are evolving, and their requirements are moving away from single resource management to orchestrating management across resources. So let's dive into how this policy framework works, right? Uh, so these advanced controls are coming through a framework which we've come up with. So the steps are defining your scheduling policy bits. Again, this is a control or a way for customers to capture your business requirements or alignment with your different stakeholders, which are running consolidated workloads on your VMs using multi VM or VM node subsetting. So we have customers who have very dense environments with 4, 6, 8 elastic computes and servicing multiple business lines of business with specific clusters which are owned by different departments. So the idea is to create a maintenance schedule which lines up with the availability of specific com- uh, teams within your organization. So you could have a scheduling policy with, let's say, 3 or 4 windows, which lines up with specific lines of business, and have that approved and stored as a scheduling policy, which, by the way, is a full first class OCI resource. We will look at how these things are done. The next step is to use the scheduling policy in the context of a resource to automate maintenance. So in this example, for infrastructure, you can use the policy. So there are two flavors of the policy you could define for infrastructure. You could do a quarterly cadence, which will apply the to the quarterly maintenance. You could create a monthly policy and attach it to the infrastructure to automate your monthly security maintenance. The monthly aspect is not part of current, like it's not GA'd and generally available yet. It's something which is an ongoing effort and in design and in development. But the quarterly maintenance automation using policy is something we recently GA'd in time for our Oracle Cloud World. So it's available, generally available on Exadata Cloud at customer deployments, and will shortly be available for Exadata Public Cloud. So step two is attaching your infrastructure to point to your scheduling policy. And step three is configuring or customizing your maintenance to align with your business needs. So this includes controlling the specific updates within the maintenance, like what components go in what time slot, what is the order. So we will talk about all the different controls we have, and and how you can manage uh, the specific update to a component within the stack and relative to other components in your infrastructure. So scheduling actions and giving component level control is something, again, a function of usage of our customers in cloud environments. Some of these controls are manually available on-prem, and they expect the service to also provide similar level of control given the level of consolidation happening on the infrastructure. So let's dive into how this framework translates to actual user experience. Uh, so the first step, like we said, defining the policy, creating the policy is just like any other OCI resource. It's compartment aware, so you can write your own identity access management, rules of who can define policies and access them, and so on and so forth. Define it in a compartment. Now, in this example, today we are walking through, we are going to look at how to automate infrastructure quarterly maintenance. So the cadence I'll select is quarterly, followed by the scheduled start month. So this is another flexibility we added. We know that Oracle infrastructure operations requires the quarterly definition to start in February. So Q1 is February, March, April. Q2 is May, June, July. Q3 is August, September, October, and then Q4 is November, December, January. So it's offset by a month from a calendar year, because we need that 1 month, offset to validate the image which we get from Exadata on-prem to make it cloud ready. But having said that, you could be using this policy for some other purposes, not for Exadata infrastructure. There is fleet management, which is another service which is going to use and leverage the scheduling capability. So you could have a use case for a collection of GI updates across your fleet, and your business cycle aligns with maybe yearly quarterly definition, or maybe it aligns with the financial quarterly definition starting at a different time, or it aligns with maybe a retail calendar. There are all kinds of scheduling uh, requirements for customers to define quarters in custom ways. So this policy takes that into account. But for today's discussion, since this policy is going to be used for infrastructure quarterly maintenance and infrastructure Oracle operations expects the quarter to be defined in a certain way, we'll do quarterly starting in February. The next step is to define one or more maintenance windows. This is the time which you've negotiated with your respective lines of business as dedicated times within which you are allowed to, change the software bits in a rolling manner, and which is ideal depending on what kind of traffic and what kind of clients are accessing the database. So this may be familiar if you are familiar with infrastructure maintenance preferences. This reflects some of the same attributes. So the month of the quarter, the week within the month, the specific day which is preferred by you, and the start time. These are existing properties which are now abstracted into the policy. And then there's the last bit which is new. This is the window duration itself. So we now have the option for customer to specify a window duration. And even within the duration, we have two aspects. So it goes from 2 all the way up to 36 hours. Uh, and within the window duration, uh, you have the option to let Oracle automation know how should the behavior be when when the scheduled updates or maintenance approaches the boundary of the window. So the attribute right after that is the enforced duration bit. So if you have flagged a window to have enforced duration to be enforced by Oracle automation, then what we'll make sure that before starting any update or any scheduled action which is part of your maintenance activity, we will compare the remaining time in the window, based on your duration, to the estimated time to perform a specific update. And based on that comparison plus some buffer, Oracle Automation will make a decision of whether to proceed with a scheduled update in that window or defer it to a later window because you have asked us to honor the window duration. So that's an optional field. You could leave that unchecked, in which case, if Oracle automation will still look at the window duration and intimate you if scheduled activity is going beyond the the planned maintenance window, but will continue to finish all scheduled activity for that window even if it goes over the planned duration. So that's just an option if you want to finish things, but get notified if things are going overboard versus strictly stay within the window duration and not cross the maintenance window. There are some edge cases we'll discuss about, like what happens if there is a job which is already, or an update which is already in progress, and we cross the window duration while doing that, and what that means and how that looks.
And
uh,
then Prince, they can enable this enforce window duration anytime, right? Like they can go back and enable it.
Absolutely. So you can do that as part of your policy creation and window creation, or you can do that after the fact at a later point by editing the maintenance window properties. And even one more step ahead, you may be pointing to a policy which has a window and it's attached to infrastructure 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of these now inherit the same compliant, beautiful, window, and they are all, enforced. You can override on infrastructure 4 for Q3 maintenance run, which
Mhm.
is derived from this policy. You can override the window behavior for just that one infra for one particular run, to say that for this one, I am going to let it run beyond the 4 hours for the Saturday, because you are maybe in control, what you're doing, and maybe you have the permission from the lines of business to go beyond the window duration and not impact any of the other infras and all the other cycles which are derived from the scheduling policy. So you have controls all the way on the abstraction in the policy layer to the specific instance of the policy and the window for a given for a given infrastructure for a given quarter. So we have all these flexibilities built in up and down the stack. Uh, Excited to see how customers use it, and see how that's going to help them navigate some of these tricky user scenarios.
Yeah, great.
All right. Yeah, good question, Leo. Thanks. Next is adding additional windows. Remember, like one of the things we said early on is like instead of being a giant monolith of a one-shot update, which could take, depending on the number of nodes in your infra, it linearly increases. And assuming you're doing a rolling update, uh, it increases with components count. And some customers do not have the leeway to negotiate like 8, 12, or 14, 24 hour, maintenance windows with their respective teams. So adding multiple maintenance windows is a good happy medium. So you could have your quarterly update policy set up with window one window on the first Saturday of the third month, followed by the Sunday of the third, first Sunday of the third month, and then the following weekend you can have a couple more windows. So you can have four windows, each are chunked up into four-hour slots, and all these four windows can be used to spread your updates around. So you can we'll see how that works. Like you can have specific updates pinned to specific maintenance windows and then order them and control them in that fashion. So you don't have to schedule a one-shot 16-hour block for all of your infra. You can chunk it up into smaller windows or multiple windows attached to your policy. So that's the affordance to add more windows. At the end of this all, you save all of your preferences as a scheduling policy. So just for example, this particular policy has one, two, three, four, five. There's one cutoff. So, four or five windows defined. Second Saturday of these months, third Saturday of these months. Both of these are, starting at 9, and then there is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's one more down here, which is, which is for the fourth week. So these are different slots which you've negotiated and has is now stored as a scheduling policy. Step two, now using the scheduling policy to automate maintenance on any resource. In this example, we are looking at infrastructure, and the purpose is to automate quarterly maintenance. So we'll go back to the edit maintenance flow. Remember, we said there is Oracle managed and custom managed, and within custom managed, you have inline existing maintenance definition, which is okay, but does not cater to advanced cases. Instead of the existing inline definition of preferences, you can choose for, derive my preferences from my qualified policy. And once you do that, you're presented with this policy selection screen. So you can browse through all your listed policies in the context of the specific compartment. In this example, we'll pick the same policy which has those five windows defined. And the minute you attach the window, which is your scheduling preference, to the infrastructure, our service now does a recommended maintenance plan for you. So basically, what it's trying to do is going through inventory of all the updates or all the components in your infra and trying to fit it into your scheduled windows. So it's a pretty simple round robin, like it's a simple linear fashion. So we schedule all the DB server updates to go first, followed by all the storage server updates, and then followed by switches if it's Exadata Cloud customer. So that's your recommended, Oracle recommended plan. Again, the idea being that if your only objective is to split your maintenance across, four windows, 2 hours each or 4 hours each, and you don't really care about what gets updated in which window, this is a great starting place for you. So we just best fit it into the windows, and you can go from there. In the case of, like, if the windows are really small, you could be in a situation where the last window in your plan could be overloaded or oversubscribed with updates, because remember, Oracle, by compliance, is required to update all these components every quarter. So if your prior windows are smaller, the last window would maybe have more scheduled updates than the size of the window or the duration of the window. But that's step two, or which is done for you after you attach the policy. But that's not where we stop, right? So we do acknowledge that, sizing the or just fitting it into the window is not your only use case. You may want to customize it to align with the multiple VM clusters and the subsetting you've done and carefully planned across your VMs, and you know what VM is hosting what database instance and what workload and what business line of business it aligns to, and what is the convenience that particular line of business has opened up as a maintenance window. So for those kinds of scenarios which we may not be privy to, you can customize your maintenance plan to suit your needs, right? So in this example, the same five windows are now slicing it in a different manner. So the DB server one is scheduled for the Saturday, the following Saturday is DB server two, and then the Monday it has one storage server and switches, and then Wednesday and Friday has one storage server each. So you could split it into multiple jobs or multiple updates and spread it around. So that's the customization of the plan. All right. Uh, and then the next bit is once once you have set your plan up the way you like, that's step two of our experience. The next bit is like what does Oracle do based on your preference and how you go from there.
So Prince, the way it works is that Oracle generates like a recommended baseline of the windows, and then customer based on their requirements, they can customize it. Like for example, if I'm running like a four node cluster, I can split into groups like my DB servers, updates, storage, and then network switches, right?
Yes, yes, you have full flexibility in terms of how many updates are done in a window,
Mm-hmm.
even to the further level of what is the order of updates. So in this example, you are seeing one update per window, but this
Yeah,
could very well be three updates, five updates, and you can order it the way you want. You can say DB server 2 goes first, followed by three, and then five, and then one. So you have a lot of control in terms of how you want to manage your updates and what gets updated in which specific maintenance window.
great. Thanks for that.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that. So now that you've set your policy, approved it from lines of business, used it to set up your maintenance plan for a given infra, the next step is, when rubber meets the road, which is when Oracle publishes a new software update for your infra, and what happens, when you're trying to execute the update, right? So when Oracle has a new published version for your quarterly update, you will get notified. You will get notified about the pre-checks which were successful, and then the next, when the actual update is going to happen, you will see that there is a date published which aligns with your preferred window dates. So from the abstraction, we were looking at just one step before, right? Where windows were described as second Saturday of every month, these months, those get translated from the plan to an actual, what we call a maintenance run, which is an instance of your plan, which executes the updates for Q1, then it will create a new instance for Q2, same for Q3. So these are all kind of instances of your plan to execute our intent quarter by quarter. So they get created every time, get completed, and then they get archived into history. So what that looks like is this, right? So this is a maintenance run, which mimics your maintenance plan, which is your definition of how you want your plan of record to be, and this is the instance of your Q1 run, right? So here in this example, you can see the ordering is inverted. You could order it the other way, but your first Saturday or second Saturday aligns with this particular date, and this is the payload or the scheduled update for that window. Then the following Saturday has a different update, and then the following Monday, Wednesday, Friday are resolving to these specific dates for your in this is July, so this will be Q2 quarter, right? So this is your Q2 quarter maintenance looks like this. So this again gives you another opportunity to maybe review if things are as you planned, is it specific for your infra? Is this looking good for Q2 quarter, or do you want to change it? You may want to change the start time for one of the windows, or maybe you want to change the payload in a specific window and things like that. So we have all those kinds of updates as all those kinds of controls as well. Sorry, let me go back. I had a interrupt here. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. So, so that is the level of control we have. Just to kind of demonstrate, you can go to a particular action maintenance scheduled action or a window and then change the order. You can add a new action into this window. This is again, these are localized updates to your Q2 run for your maintenance. This will not go and update your plan of record or your maintenance plan attached to your infra. You could do that based on your adjustments you make here and how things go for your Q2 run. Maybe you learn that the order is not as you think it should be, or maybe you want to make some updates to how things are should be for the following quarter. If you want to do that, you'll go and make those changes on the plan, and then Oracle automation will automatically pick up those changes and create a new maintenance run for Q3 quarter based on your adjusted parameters. Right, so that's the level of flexibility you have, changing the order of updates, adding, removing updates, scheduling, changing the type of update from rolling, non-rolling, adding custom action time and things like that. There is another affordance which we have added, or control we've added, which is the ability to cancel a maintenance after a specific scheduled maintenance window has started performing updates. So in our example, let's say the Saturday update is already started, and let's say the scheduled action list includes DB servers 1, 2, and 3. As DB server 1 was already done, and you suddenly get some out of band request to stop all maintenance activity. So this can be self-service now. Before, you would have to raise an SR and kind of coordinate with Oracle Ops and make sure that somehow you have a way to interject and stop maintenance. But instead, you can go to a running maintenance window, which will show you that there is updates in progress, and right click and go into cancel maintenance, and then immediately will tell you or ask you to put another time in there, and which will be a new window which is created, and we'll ask you for basic parameters like how long is that planned window, do you want to enforce duration. And what that will do is any job or any update which is not started when you cancel the request will get rescheduled to this new preferred start time window or your new maintenance window which you created. So if something is running, so let's say DB Server 1 is completed and DB Server 2 is running and DB Server 3 is the next one to be scheduled or started, then DB Server 2 will continue to run because we don't stop or cancel ongoing updates. But the update for DB Server 3, which was scheduled and supposed to happen in the current window, will get rescheduled to your preferred window, which is deferred for future time. So that's another control. Uh, and then there are two other scenarios in which you will exit. I mean, there is, of course, everything scheduled and planned is completed, and there is a successful exit from a planned maintenance window. But a failure exit is something which looks like this. So again, going back to the same example, let's say your planned window had, three updates, DB servers 1, 2, and 3. DB server 1 completed, and while doing the software update for DB server 2, we failed. We went through all of our regular playbook to do the retry steps, and ops gets involved. And after a certain number of steps, we determined that this is not something which we can proceed and complete in the given uh, time frame, and we declared that maintenance of or that particular scheduled update to be a failure or a failed update. So once the resource or the update is marked as failed, automatically the failed update, so in this case DB server 2, and the scheduled update which is going to follow right after DB server 3, both of those get rescheduled to a future window. 2 weeks out is our default. And if you see here, the type is annotated with unplanned. So it gets pushed out to an unplanned window in the future. And that's you get notified and you see this banner on top, which tells you that Oracle has created an unplanned window in response to a failure. Please review the window and the scheduled actions and do the necessary steps. So you again can edit the start time of this unplanned window or merge the scheduled actions from this window into another planned window you may already have, or do something else with it. So that's up to you. But that's the mechanism for failure. So we exit and push the unfinished jobs into an unplanned window. Another exit scenario is the duration enforced scenario. So you may have a window which has duration enforced. Everything as per the plan was supposed to fit in the maintenance window. Again, going back to our example of DB servers 1, 2, and 3, DB server 1 is updated and complete. DB server 2 and 3 are supposed to finish as per the original plan. There was enough time. But let's say DB server 2 update takes longer than planned and beats all estimates. So before the DB Server 3 update starts, automation will check if the estimated time to perform, let's say estimated time is an hour and 30 minutes, and the remaining time in the window is 30 minutes, not enough, it's just 30 minutes. In which case, we will mark the window and the scheduled action as partial success because we've already finished DB servers 1 and 2. And because you asked us to respect the window duration, we will push this DB Server 3 scheduled update to an unplanned window into the future and notify you saying we moved something out from your planned window because it's not going to meet your duration expectation. And please review and do the needful, meaning, change the start time or merge it with your another plan window or however you want to resolve that situation. So these are some advanced controls which we now support for infrastructure quarterly maintenance, and a similar kind of framework and similar kind of capabilities will also be made available for monthly maintenance, security maintenance on your infrastructure. That's a separate project which is currently in development. Uh, Quick recap, three-step process: defining your policy outside, using the policy for quarterly maintenance, and then scheduling and controlling the order of updates and what happens, and making changes to your specific update, if you want it to differ from your plan. With that, we are done with the Oracle responsible portion of software updates. Leo, what's the plan? Do we want to go up the stack or quickly? How do
Yeah,
we want?
we can proceed with the guest VM OS updates and
Okay. All right. So for the guest VM updates, just quickly, the same thing. What is updated? This is the guest OS image, which includes Oracle Linux and all the Exadata software which goes along with it. Uh, Here again, the frequency. Remember, this is customer responsibility. So when we say it's monthly published by Oracle, but we don't go ahead and update your guest VM or do any of those things, right? You are responsible for updating it based on your needs and whatever aligns with your business and your practices. So but we give you in through your cloud APIs and interfaces, you have the option to select up to 6 minor versions for every major version family. So since it's a monthly update, you have 6 months of versions from based on which family you're on. You have choice of all 7 and 8, so you can upgrade to all 8 based images as well. Again, as part of your prep, make sure that pre-checks and exa checks, these are all pre-check is available as an API. The cloud UI exa check is available through the best CLI. It's best to do all these checks before you plan your maintenance and apply the updates. Uh, this is not a general purpose VM, so any customizations you do, which are non-Oracle software, we may not be able to replicate that, or it may affect some of those customizations may affect our automation capabilities. So that's something to be mindful of. And then the last bit is the whole framework which we laid out for infra, right? In terms of how do you get updated and how can you do asynchronous monitoring. This is again through the OCI events framework. which Leo also mentioned earlier in the day, right? And for guest OS updates on failure, there is the option to retry the update. So if some of the nodes are already or the VMs are already at target version and the others are not, you can fix the underlying issue and retry, or you can roll back and go back to your source version. So those are some capabilities available through our cloud interfaces. A couple of things to just call out in the last 6 months to the things which we've released. So we now support 23.1, 23.4, and based versions, which are both OL8 based versions. So if you plan to update them, you can make sure you do the requisite certification to make sure it's compatible with OL8, and also review the minimum considerations for those updates. These are available just like other updates, which are through this view updates mechanism. They are also available. This is just listing out the updates alongside other updates which we already support for earlier versions. There is also new support for setting your version during provisioning. So this is new. This is coming from our customer request where we allow you to rev the version post update, but there are certain requirements where you want the version to be consistent across the fleet. So there may be like 3 or 4 versions old is your certified version for your fleet, and you may want to set that as the version during provisioning. Up till now, before this feature, we were just picking up the latest. So now you have the option to match the version across multiple environments. Again, during provision also, you have the same flexibility. 6 minor versions, for a given major version are options available. This is just how it looks like in the UI. While you change, the level of version instead of latest, you can go and enable display all versions, and it'll expand into the minor versions available for your particular VM. The next bit is the GI and database updates. These are also customer responsibility. Again, GI is applied in line today, so it's an in-place update. We are working on out-of-place GI update, which is a separate thing, which is coming. And GI software is released once every quarter. So, and for a given, major version stream, uh, version series, you will have 4 minor versions available through the API and UIs. So that's like 1 year worth of GI coverage. And then you also have the option to apply a custom GI image, which is something new, and we'll talk about. Uh, Again, since this is customer responsibility, the expectation is that you will run the required pre-checks. If you need some one-offs which are required in your environment, you can use the custom image capability to build that image using those one-offs. And all of our APIs and interfaces are updated with these new capabilities. Again, monitoring is through OCI Events Framework, so you can get updates on how your GI software update is progressing. Database updates also have a very similar mechanism. Database supports both in place and out of place updates. We recommend out of place because that gives you more flexibility to roll back, but you can choose to also perform in place updates. Again, database software is released every quarter. So for every major version series, you have up to 4 minor versions. So 1 year worth of images are available as target versions. Uh, Again, these are all 1 year higher than your current version, right? So you don't see lower versions, right? These are all updates or upgrades. Uh, Custom image building capabilities available. It's been there for databases for a while, and it's more evolved and has more feature functionality than GI custom images. We'll talk about it briefly next. And then same with just like OS and GI, you are expected to run the pre-checks, make sure that your homes are not shared by your primary and standby databases, uh, because those have some kind of, there are situations where people, even if you have the same version requirement, having separate homes is what is recommended. And then Again, if you need one-offs, then the way to apply it is instead of applying the one-offs, which we don't support directly, you are expected to build a custom image with the one-offs and use that image to move the homes or apply an inline update. Monitoring is through the OCI events framework, and here for out of place database updates, you have the option to roll back to your prior target home. A couple of callouts on the database and GI custom images. Both support custom images support. So custom image building the database. This shows the database version, but for the GI also we support similar controls. You can either specify your specific version series and RUs within the version and the specific one-off patch numbers listed, and then we'll build the image for you. Or you can also upload the output of your LS inventory for, let's say, if you have that somewhere, you can use that and build the image that way, right? And the other part is, we also had this request for both database and GI images to be accessible across regions. So you may have an image which is certified and in use on your standby database, and you want to make sure that the exact same image is used on the other side. So you can import that or reference that across regions. So in this example, you can see that region selection alongside compartment is an option. So these are some new capabilities on the GI images and database image side. And remember, GI image updates are in place. Although we have a customer managed and visible database home GI home exposed, the updates are in place on the GI home. We will be working on and we will support out of place GI updates in the future.
All right.
Yeah, with that, yeah, Leo, you want to talk about the next piece here?
Yeah, thanks, Prince. So let's just go quickly on how they can configure notifications to monitor the maintenance and updates. So in OCI, we have this OCI notification service, which lets you know what's happening with your resources in OCI. So your OCI notification, it enables you to create topics and publish messages to them, to a subscriber, and that it gives you the flexibility on the notifications delivery. So you can choose an option whether you want it to be delivered in email, or you can come up with a notification action to run a function, or send an HTTPS, send it through Slack, or text message through SMS. Then next slide, please. So here we're just going to show like how easy it is for you to like create a notification for your infrastructure maintenance. So in your OCI notifications, you just need to create a topic. So it could be like an infrastructure maintenance monitoring topic, and then create a subscription. In this example, we're choosing the email protocol. So whenever there's an event service emitted related to infrastructure maintenance, then you'll get a notification through an email. And then let's see what are the rules and actions for events. So an event, it's a structured message that indicates state changes into your resources. For your Exadata database service, so we have different service event types that you can subscribe into. So we have a granular event types for infrastructure maintenance. If you want to get notified for the begin and end of a maintenance of the infrastructure, it could also be your VM cluster update, and also it could be your database update. And then on that rule tab, you can also define your notification actions, like what will be the automated responses out of that triggered event. So one of the most used, of course, is to do a notification action type that can be sent through an email notification. So let's see more examples. Like if you go to the next slide, here are the event types that you can choose if you want to get notified about infrastructure maintenance status. So you can select the begin and end of a maintenance run, and begin and end of each database server update, begin and end of each storage server update, or even to include a notification for the begin and end of a custom action wait time, which prints have shown that we can you can enable custom action and even extend it. So you can also create notifications for that. And then for VM clusters and database updates. So if you want to get notified of resource changes, so this could be updates on your VM cluster, for example, operating system and grid infrastructure and database updates. So here are some of the sample event types. So you can choose here in the event time. So you'll see you have the Cloud VM cluster update begin and update end. And also you can include the begin and end of a database home update. So once you have configured this notifications and events, so if you go to the next slide, so and then when you do the actual patching activity so you get notified. Let's say if I perform a patching action of running a pre-check or applying the specific update, then on the next slide you'll be seeing the notification email that gets triggered. So whenever you had started the maintenance, so you'll get the update. So you'll get an update cloud VM cluster begin. It shows you the life cycle state of updating and then shows you the current GI version. And then once the application of the updates has been completed, you'll get another notification for the update Cloud VM cluster end with a status of available and showing you the new GI version. So that's how quickly you can do notification as part of the best practice also for your maintenance and updates. So yeah, we're going towards the end of the session. So where you can find more resources. So we're inviting everyone to join our public Slack workspace. So it's Exadata Database Service. This is where we upload all our get started guides, how to demos. You can also see the replays of this Tech Talk series. This is also where we publish our featured blogs. So how to join? The next slide, you just click on the join link, and then if you go to the next slide, or you can use the join link or just scan the QR code, log into your email account for Slack, check your email, set up your 2FA, and that's it. So welcome to our workspace. And then in the same Slack channel, so you'll be meeting Ask Debbie, which is our AI chatbot which she's a gen dev for real. So she's trained to answer questions about Exadata database service. So if you go to the next slide, so Ask Debbie, it's a RAG pipeline powered by OCI Gen AI and 23 AI database running on Exadata database service. So this Ask Debbie Gen AI chatbot is also available on our uh, Slack channel. So if you go to the next slide, so you can add Ask Debbie. So if you join our Slack workspace, you can add Ask Debbie as one of the application, and then you can start asking questions about database cloud services. And yeah, that's it. So that brings this session of our Tech Talk with me, Leo, and Prince to an end. So until our next session, so stay safe and be perfect. So my name is Leo, and my co-host is.
Prince,
All
thank you for
right.
joining me.
Bye for now.